true life and music history, the Ants Human Stars podcast, with your hosts, Caleb and Digo. Are you ready? Steady. Go.
And now, for your feature presentation.
Sit back and enjoy the ride.
Exactly. Then you're blown away by the sound. Okay.
So I'm just going to say this right off the top, that I've shifted from true crime to true life. Deal with it.
Okay.
Deal with it, everybody. What does that mean? What does Digo mean by true life? Well, I love true crime, and I'm going to still tell you true crime, but I don't want to be restricted by the boundaries of something that has to do with crime.
A murder.
Or a murder or anything. I mean, I will talk about murders. It's not like I'm never going to talk about murders again.
He said, "Oh, don't worry. We will talk about exactly."
But sometimes I want to talk about things that are true, and I want to bring it to light, and I want to be restricted by crime. So I'm rebranding to #TrueLife.
Okay.
I'm sure that's not going to go over well on Twitter. I'm sure I'm the only one, but maybe that's fine. Anyways, I'm off
You're
Twitter.
an innovative. You're an innovative.
I'm an innovative. He innovatives.
You're an innovator, okay? And you're starting something of your own.
Oh, yeah. I know. There's too many true crimes anyway.
Exactly.
So there's a new docuseries on Netflix. We were talking about this one that came out on November 2022. Ancient Apocalypse.
I checked it out. Great show.
With this dude, Graham. Every time I see somebody's name who's like Graham, I just want to go Graham.
I can't.
Graham Norton.
No.
Graham Hancock. Graham Hancock. He's a journalist and has written a bunch of books that want us to believe that there was an ancient, advanced global civilization 10 to 20,000 years ago. And so he's been peddling this for a while. Since
the 90s. Anyway.
Since the 90s, probably even before. His idea is that this ancient civilization prospered, but then there was a massive flood that wiped out all but a few primitive humans. The advanced humans then scattered about the globe, spreading knowledge that had been lost in the floods. And to help rebuild humanity to their excellence. Yes, he does believe in Atlantis, basically. And yes, he used to claim that all the advanced peoples was white. A white master race. Graham Norton, everybody.
No. Graham Hancock. Stop. Don't do that to Graham.
Why do you say Norton? I'm so sorry.
Graham, we love you. Graham Norton, we love your show.
He good.
Okay?
He's fine.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I'm spreading lies.
He over there you're doing. He said, "How my name get in it?"
I'm doing so much work. Graham Hancock. Such an Hancock.
Do you remember that movie with Will Smith? Hank, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Okay, the best line from that is Mike Epps goes, he's like robbing or doing something, and then Will Smith comes down, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I heard of you, hand job." It was just he delivered it just so perfect. It was the best part of that entire movie. Anyways, continue with
Will Smith wanted to do Independence Day 2. He did Hancock.
I know. Terrible. But anyways, on to Graham Hancock.
Actually, the Graham Norton Show is one of the best talk shows there out there.
No
and it's a simple thing.
Late night show
it's
here
a simple
compares.
Thing. He keeps them all on stage. It's simple.
Exactly.
It's great. Why would you not want to mix the characters?
Exactly.
Anyways.
And they're there from the beginning. It's not some all right,
it's
now
chill.
You walk out. Now you walk out. It's like, everybody gets, It's great.
I don't know about that RuPaul set, though. It looks like Anyway.
It's iconic.
It is.
It's him.
It's like, it's him. Yeah. All right. So this show, the Ancient Legends, whatever the hell it's called, Ancient
Ancient
Apocalypse. But the idea of it is fascinating. I mean, I watched it. I watched a few episodes, and it was riveting. It got me like really, because I'm an open-minded person. It did get me wondering though about what do we currently know science-wise and about our human history. What have we discovered for reals, scientifically proven facts about us, about our ancestors, and what our ancestors did to evolve and get us where we are today. So I'm going to walk you through the most up-to-date info I could find about how old we really are, what evidence we have to our earliest tools and man-made structures, and what evidence we have in our cultures about this so-called flood apocalypse. So, one of the pieces of the puzzle that makes us human is the ability to use tools. Basic. Many animals use a variety of tools, like the sea otter that uses rocks to break open nuts and shellfish, ants that use debris to collect and transport food back to the nest. But it's our ability to make tools, to fashion them out of rock, wood, and metals that makes us unique. Our ancestors did make basic stone tools, and they made them as far back as 3.3 million years ago. That is the first number that got me going with this. I was like, just doing rough research just to, and I was like, what 3 million years ago? And by 1.75 million years ago, they were making hand axes and other cutting implements. And as recently as 400,000 years ago, thrusting spears were used to hunt large prey in the area what is now known as Germany. And those spears were state of the art for
Wakanda.
the time. Now, for most of our history on this planet, Homo sapiens have not been the only humans, per se. Humans as we know them now haven't always been as we know them now. Humans being a word derived from the Latin word humanus, a hybrid of homo, insert joke, meaning man, y'all. That's just all it means. And hummus. Fart jokes. Hummus meaning earth. So man-earth. We coexisted with other varieties of hominin. Our genes make it clear that we frequently interbred with various hominin species, including some we haven't even yet identified. We can see it in our genome, but we can't say, like, this set of DNA in our genome corresponds to these fossils we found. So we have still yet to find them all. But they dropped off one by one, leaving our own species to represent all of humanity. On an evolutionary timescale, some of these species vanished only recently. So, anyway, let's start from the top. Gorillas, chimpanzees, and other human ancestors formed about 12 million years ago. Then the chimpanzees went their own way from gorillas about 8 million years ago. And hominins, our human ancestors, split from chimpanzees about 7 million years ago. Then, welcome the age of the queens, the homos. Homo habilis, the first human to make tools, 2 to 3 million years ago. Homo erectus, calm down, y'all. The first of our relatives to have human-like body proportions, with shorter arms, longer legs relative to its torso, and possibly the first to cook food. Homo heidelbergensis, the first humans to live in colder climates. It's about 700,000 to 200,000 years ago, or possibly 2 million years ago. It's sort of... The science isn't really set on this because new discoveries are made all the time. They have to be verified, and it just takes time. And people say one thing, and sometimes they're just theories. So, the Denisovians, this is actually interesting. The Denisovians are the first ancient hominin species to be revealed by genes alone, not by fossil classification. It's not like we found this fossil of an old human and it's like, oh, look at this. No, they found a piece of a fossil, and they were like, okay, what is this? And they looked at it and like, wait, this DNA in here matches some of that missing DNA that we were looking for. So we found that missing thing, but we only found a little piece of it. So we really don't know what this whole thing looks like yet. And they were found in a Denisova cave in Russia. That's why they call them the Denisovians. There's no more info other than that. But it's interesting that 3 to 5% of all living Asian people have this Denisovian DNA in their ancestry. So
Interesting.
Homo naledi, hominins that were found in South Africa in 2013. And what was interesting about them is that they lived only 300,000 years ago, but had traits of hominins 2 million years ago. So there's some kind of interbreeding. And the infamous Homo neanderthalensis, the Neanderthals. After the modern humans trekked out of Africa 60 to 80,000 years ago, they interbred with Neanderthals, most likely in the Middle East, about 50,000 years ago. Homo floresiensis, little humans, about a meter tall, or 3 feet, discovered in Indonesia, said to have inhabited the area about 50,000 years ago. And drum roll, please. The Homo sapiens, the modern humans, the most abundant and widespread species of primate, characterized by bipedalism, that means they're walking on 2 feet, and exceptional cognitive skills due to a large and complex brain. A few fun facts. The Neanderthals once stretched across Eurasia from Portugal to the British Isles to Siberia. As Homo sapiens became more prevalent across these areas, the Neanderthals died out about 40,000 years ago. Some evidence suggests that a few diehards may have held some land in the area of Gibraltar, perhaps only 29,000 years ago. And even today, traces of them remain because modern humans carry Neanderthal DNA in their genome. In another article, I didn't write it here, but in another article, it was pretty popular to think, oh, the humans versus Neanderthals, and we, killed them, basically. They're like, nah, I think it was basically humans looked better. And they were sexed out.
Rough.
Yep, rough. The oldest confirmed human footprints in the Americas were found in New Mexico. And it pushes back the date of our ancestors' arrival to the continent but a few thousand years. The footprints are believed to be between 21 and 23,000 years old and show evidence of children and teenagers alongside a variety of extinct animals. A few information about structures. Göbekli Tepe, a Neolithic archaeological site in southeastern Anatolia region of Turkey, was built 11,000 years ago. And it's a burial ground and ritual site. Butchered bones were found in large numbers from local games such as deer, gazelle, pigs, and geese. And it was seen as a contributor factor to the later development of urban civilization in that area. And that reinforces the idea, the updated view on how modern civilizations came about. We used to think that nomads settled down, sowed crops, built a society, then built the monoliths. But now it's sort of evidence to the contrary, where ancient peoples built the monoliths first in order to they built them to celebrate the suns and the stars, the gods, whatever. And then to build them, that led to the civilizations needed to facilitate the construction of the monoliths. Other way around. Tell Caramel. Caramel? Carmel? I don't know. Caramel. Tel Caramel is an archaeological mound located in north of present-day Syria, 25 kilometers north of Aleppo, and it was built 13,000 years ago, and only about 1.5% of the entire site has been excavated. After 2011, the excavations were suspended due to the civil war in Syria. So, stay tuned.
More to come.
Oh, and of course, the Great Pyramid of Giza, which, when you think of like ancient civilizations and ancient buildings, that's what you first go to. But I've just mentioned a few other more ancient. But the Pyramid of Giza, the biggest Egyptian pyramid, and the tomb of the 4th dynasty pharaoh Khufu. Documents. We usually we usually think of when we think of ancient monoliths. Yeah, I already said that. Okay, but that was the only built 4,500 years ago and relatively new construction when compared to other monoliths I just mentioned. Okay, but what about before 10, 20, 30,000 years ago? I don't think we need to believe in Atlantis to imagine a world of humans long before our current known history. I think we've been doing that, and I think we've been doing what we do best for a long time. And since our planet has not always been as warm as it is now, it's been a tough, long road. About 20 million years ago, we had our earliest apes. Like I said, gorillas came around 9 million. Hominins around 7 million. And that was all during when they were fashioning those tools about 3 million years ago. That was during what was known as the Miocene and the Pliocene epoch, when the Earth was about as warm as it is today. Then came the Pleistocene epoch, our Earth's most recent ice age. So 3 million years ago, they were making tools in warm weather, and then they had to go through an entire ice age to get to us today. And our ancestors made it through that ice age, and it makes sense that as the ice melted away, flooding became rampant. It also makes sense that such a colossal worldwide shift would be burned into our oral history and make for such great, fantastic legends as an ancient apocalypse, like Noah's Ark and the Great Flood of the Bible, and other stories, like in the Aztec creation story. There are 5 suns or worlds. They came one at a time, one building on another, and before each world was built, the one before of it was destroyed, only to have a new one be created, which was better for man. For the Aztecs, the beginning, there was nothing. That's typical. Then there was a powerful god, Omicatwalo. Omicatwalo. I'm never going to say that right. Sorry, Aztecs. This god was, as were most of them, was a dual god, both male and female. And it allowed to be both opposites. So it was like both good and evil, funny and sad, positive and negative. Being both male and female, it was able to have children. And that god had 4, which represented the 4 directions. And through their interactions of satisfying their own desires and dislikes, the other 4 worlds were created, or other suns were created. One of the most important gods that later came about was Tlaloc, which was mentioned a lot in that documentary. That was also worshipped by the Mayans. And Tlaloc was known as the provider, the rain god, the bringer of life. In the 4th sun, so the 4th iteration of life for the Aztecs or the Mayans, in this case it's the Aztecs, the gods got to fighting each other again. And Tlaloc decided, let's end the world. I'm done with this. Gods really need therapy.
Right? Seriously.
They're just always like destroying. Anywho, Tlaloc had grown fond of a young couple Tata, and Nena. Because of their devotion to him, he gave them advance notice that he was going to flood the world. Sound familiar? Yes. He told them to hollow out a large tree and get in it so they'd be able to ride out the flood. He also told them to take 2 and only 2 ears of corn with them, and he would provide for everything else. When they were ready, he turned on the rain and flooded the entire world. And when it stopped raining, the land started to appear again. Tata and Nena noticed that the waters were loaded with fish and were not only happy to be alive, but they were really hungry. And 2 ears of corn, come on.
That didn't last long.
And no. And so they got out and they started fishing. They caught a bunch of fish and started to eat them. Tlaloc saw this and he was like, what the fuck? He was furious and asked them if this was how they had returned his faith in them. And without waiting for an answer, he turned them into the first dogs in the world so they could become man's best friend and ever faithful companion.
Dang.
There's that story.
Ooh.
My question is, but then when did the other humans come? Anyway.
Yeah. I guess he just made them.
He just made more.
Yeah.
Like you dogs.
Yeah, exactly. And
Next.
exactly.
The Greeks believed that Zeus, the king of the gods, was displeased with the human population. There we go again. Zeus told Deucalion, the son of Prometheus, to construct an ark for himself and his wife, Pyrrha. After 9 days of flooding, the world was destroyed, and the ark rested on top of Mount Parnassus. When the waters receded, Deucalion and his wife offered a sacrifice to Zeus to learn how to repopulate the earth. Zeus told them to throw their stones over their shoulders. The stones thrown by Deucalion became men, and those thrown by Pyrrha became women. The Hindu flood tale is unique from other religions, and the Hindu teachings Manu, or the first man, was not visited by a god, but rather by a fish. In some tellings of the story, the fish is the deity Lord Vishnu. This fish told Manu that the world was going to be destroyed in a great flood. Manu built a boat. He tied it to the horn of a great fish. The fish guided Manu's boat through the floods and, not surprisingly, to the top of a mountain. When the flood waters receded, Manu performed a ritual sacrifice and poured butter and sour milk into the sea. After a year, a woman rose from the water and announced herself as the daughter of Manu. But then Manu and his daughter had sex and repopulated the earth. Yeah. I have one last one, and this is my favorite one.
Okay.
Of these, okay. Buddhists, they got an elaborate flood story. So there was this Indian village. There was like 1,000 families of dishonest carpenters. Random. Okay. These carpenters would tell people that they could build anything from houses to chairs and would take the money, but never actually make the work. So because of this, they were not surprisingly despised by the village, and they quickly needed to find a new place to live. They built a ship and sailed until they found a beautiful island. The island was populated by a man who had been shipwrecked. The man told them that the food was plentiful and life on the island was comfortable, and the carpenters were welcome to stay. The only catch was that the island was haunted by spirits. The spirits' one rule was that every time a human needed to defecate or urinate, they needed to dig a hole and cover it up. I'm not making this up. This is legend. This is, yeah. The spirits wanted to keep their island clean. And the carpenters loved the island and decided to have a big party to celebrate their new home. But of course, however, they became drunk on fermented sugarcane and quickly ignored the rules and started pretty much shitting all over the place. The spirits were furious and decided to flood the island with a giant wave on the full moon. Though the spirits were very angry, they didn't want to kill all the carpenters. They just wanted them mostly gone. One spirit became a ball of light in the sky and told the people that because of their carelessness, the island would be flooded and they should flee for their lives. Another spirit was angrier at the carpenters and wanted to trick them. So he appeared in the sky announcing that the previous warning about the flood had been a lie. And he said, it's going to be cool. Nothing to worry about. You can stay. You can keep partying. Just kidding. So most of them were like, okay, cool. We could continue partying. That was weird. But there was a smart carpenter who was like, I don't know about this. I don't know about this island. I don't know about these spirits. I don't know about this.
Yeah, they seem real sketch. I ain't gonna lie. Like,
sketch. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And he did. He was like, he made up, ship he got on ship, he got out. While the foolish men stayed and died. So, I mean, look, there's so many of these stories. The Chinese have a few. One involving a thunder god and another brother and sister incest. Norse mythology tells us the world was flooded with blood of a giant. Aborigines have a tale about a big thirsty frog who drank all the water and then vomited all the water. Northern Native American tribes also have a cool one with a turtle. Bottom line, I don't think Graham Norton. Just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Okay. I don't think Graham Norton is. No, I'm just kidding. I don't care.
If you don't leave Graham Norton out of this,
Hancock.
Exactly.
Hand job. Graham hand job. I don't think Graham hand job is totally crazy. Though he's probably totally racist. I believe that the idea of a human story going back so far back that all we have are myths and legends makes sense. We didn't have, even if today we wanted to keep the information we have today for thousands of years, that's not guaranteed. We need electricity for it and things to process the things that we have. Books don't last forever, even if you carve them in stone. And I just said this. Current information systems require electricity to access. So we don't know what the future holds. And if we'll make it through our next ice age even, which I'm sure is coming around the corner. Given the evidence, our ancestors, though, they survived. Saber-toothed cats. Huge. An ice age. It's cold. That's cold as fuck. You had to go to the equator just to be sort of like London. And when those huge slabs of ice receded, floods. I think we have a pretty good chance at surviving. I know it's bleak to think of global warming, climate change as total destruction. And it might be. But I think no matter what, I think we're going to get through it. I think looking at this gives me a sense of hope for us to continue. And maybe there was a time where it was like this. We were advanced, and then we died out, and here we are again advanced, and then we die out, and then we go advanced, and then we die out. I don't think that matters. It's fun. We can reinvent ourselves all over and over again. That's cool. I'd like to thank my following sources of the Smithsonian, the Natural History Museum of London, The Atlantic, Nature.com, the University of Warwick in the UK, the Manzanillo Son of Some Mexico, PBS.org, Encyclopedia Britannica, Netflix, and of course, my lover, Wikipedia.
Good. What is Old Faithful.
Old Faithful, always there. So I couldn't actually finish the series, but I did. I got into it.
So it's interesting. Okay, so that's interesting because how many episodes did you get through?
About 3 or 4.
Okay, so I finished the series, and by the end of it, I mean, do you mind if I kind of spoiler alert
That's fine.
for anybody who hasn't seen the rest of that? I'm gonna spoil it for you.
Atlantis is real.
Not that, but the by the last episode, the point of the whole series wasn't so much about second. It was about that yes, there was some ancient civilization that was super advanced. The main point of the whole thing was that all these ancient civilizations were pointing to this apocalypse that happened all this time ago, and it was like giving warning that like, hey, this might come back around. So he gets into the stars and how it wasn't so much a flood that wiped them out, but it was essentially like asteroids and stuff hitting the earth, and then they cause earthquakes, and they cause tsunamis and all this stuff, and so they cause destruction. And it was kind of creepy though, because the essentially, yes, the world and everything's just spinning, and so the way the stars were at that time when this thing happened, he's like, we're coming back around to that. And so there quite possibly could have been this huge asteroid shower, or whatever, meteor shower, whatever it's called, that came through, and then like we're headed in the direction that that's gonna happen again, and possibly there's some huge asteroid shower that's gonna come down. So that was it goes somewhere different than what you thought. Like by the end of it, I was like, oh, that's what we're getting to. This is really depressing.
But I mean, even if that's where he goes with it, that is always a possibility that I have accepted for this planet or any planet. Excuse me. Ooh, those fries. The revelation for me, or maybe I always knew, I just had to really focus on it, was that, because people really want to just shed light on our current, most recent history of us. And our current, most recent, this is how the planet is. And the planet shifts so hard from cold to hot. Incredibly too much for my own liking. Like the idea of such a drop of temperatures for millions. It's not even like it's millions of years. And then we'll have a little bit of time in the sun, and it'll be warm again, and then it just shifts to another millions of years of it. I think there's a sort of natural cycle, and then yes, an asteroid can come in and shift us right into ice. You blanket the world with one. A volcano can do it. A powerful volcano can cover the earth, lower the temperature, induce maybe even an ice age. I don't know, depending on but the asteroids are way more destructive and more powerful to do that. And not even like the planet killers, all those movies that we've seen. No, just a big one that shoots up enough of to cover and then to create the change in the whole world's climate. But as scary as that is, again, what is scarier to me is that there's a rhythm of climate change that we cannot get out. We could be free of asteroids for the rest of Jupiter's going to suck them all up. No big deal. We're never going to be hit by an asteroid again. And yet we will still go into an ice age. No matter what. We can be all green we want. The planet will shift back. And then it will shift back. Or it won't. I mean, the warmness of this planet is a delicate balance of so many little things. And any one of those things being slightly off or shifting can just be that's it. It's gone. And then an ice age makes me think, yes, it is cold out there. It's a warm planet. No, it is cold. The moment the shift in the atmosphere or whatever, it's warm yesterday and today it is negative whatever. That shows to me the universe, it's cold as fuck, and we're hanging on to a little space heater, and if that space heater goes offline, it is over. Plug it up. Plug it. So yeah, that's what. And anyway, I'm just more open to. It's not fact. Any of these stories that they all link with a sort of general theme, though, that is telling to me.
Oh yeah.
And again, that it's hard to keep information for so long. That's the only curiosity I would have is like, can we fast forward to 100,000 years? What would they think? What sort of grandiose stories will they have about us right now at this time? What will they consider gods or not even like religious, just like important figures, presidents, like, stuff, like stupid stuff. I'd be like, what? You think so-and-so was big deal? He was not. He was a piece of shit. He was a worthless individual. You guys have statues of this? Anyways, stuff like that. It's just like, I feel like, I don't know how information will hold. We're having issues right now with fact and fiction, and never mind putting 10,000, 20,000 years between us and the next future generations. And there's no way to say, I'm going to hold this information here and this will be the truth. Because it's going to be it's always a little bit biased, I feel. Unless it's like science truth. But even then, I just feel like
there is, like, no, there is truth.
Yeah.
And then people can decide if they don't want, we're living in a time where people are just deciding that the truth and reality, because they don't want that to be their truth.
Yeah.
They're just making up their own. But that does not mean that the truth isn't, like, facts aren't facts.
Yeah.
Just because you've decided, or a group of people that you hang out with have decided, like, nah, we don't want that to be a fact. Like, oh, okay. But that, like, the sky is still blue, even if you want to say that it's red. Like, okay.
What would you say to a flat earther?
You know what? I don't know if I'm in a, I don't know if I'm in a, I think just off the top of my head, I feel like there's a lot of, no one's critically thinking anymore. There's no critical thinking going on at all. So I don't even know if I would engage that. I'd be like, okay, like, if that's what you want to think, then, like, okay. But that, like, there's just no critical thinking going on at all. People are just making up. They're just like, yep, nope. I like, yeah, I believe this guy's red, and I believe that, like, I can walk through this brick wall, and yeah. And so I'm like, you know what? Okay.
I think,
because the facts are there, and that's why I say I don't know if I would engage, because it's not like the facts aren't there.
And
so you're choosing
when push comes to shove, it's gonna be people who hold on to truth that will survive, I believe. I don't mean like today. I mean in our adversity of changes in this planet, a flat earther will not survive. It's
again,
gonna
you're not critically thinking, so that means you're not gonna be able to figure out a way, like, how do I get out of this tough situation?
Right.
Okay. So yeah.
It's gonna be people who think that in a critical way, logically, can get past and hold on to what's real, that can get through it. And if our ancestors hadn't done that, this whole, it's crazy to me to think that getting that pockets of humans building fires in caves and writing on walls and having families and having, and then later sowing crops and everything. And now we got these iPads and laptops and everything. It just feels so delicate. And anything could have happened if they had been too stupid, or it just didn't do it right, or if anything happened
based off his little documentary series. I did find it interesting where he was like, yeah, we're being told that these thousands of years ago people were primitive, but they're building all these huge structures.
I'm speaking to more the millions of years ago.
Oh, okay.
Through the Ice Age, getting through that Ice Age.
Okay.
Even though they weren't us, it was like without them we wouldn't. So they all had to have a little piece, a little part to get to a more advanced us of today.
But also maybe they weren't as dumb as because look,
monkeys are freaking smart. I know we look at them as dumb, but they're smart and they can get past. What's that famous saying? Is like even a monkey can have children. I'm like, yes, raise them. Make sure they don't die. They eat well. They have a whole life. They have their families of their own. They build their whole, yes, they have capacities. And that's the same, I'm sure, the capacities of our ancestors. But, today it's like, you're a different color. Let me kill you. It's like, it's so delicate keeping these, and making sure we don't kill each other and also dealing with the climate and just like keeping ourselves going because we think we're at the end. That's, it's a very common thinking that we're at the end here and everything was before. And then, but this exact thing that I'm saying could be sent 20,000 years in the future and be like, oh my God, imagine if those guys didn't get past the nuclear age and then it bombed each other. We wouldn't be here. They could have easily killed, that sort of thing. It's like, it's all so delicate. It's all so delicate. And just because we have a house, it doesn't mean it's even less delicate. It's still the delicacies, how delicate it is still very delicate. And it's amazing that we get through it. That's my point. Like, no matter what, we're getting through it, and so if we did it back in the cave, whether we were smart or stupid, we somehow did it, and then now we're a little bit smarter, a little bit, and I think we can continue and get it
through. Just critically think, people. If you're listening, just critically think. It's not cool to be dumb. It's cool to be woke.
And the answer lies on this planet. The answer is this planet.
Exactly.
Don't think about another planet. Exactly. That's not the answer.
Exactly.
I appreciate the sci-fi of this. I love sci-fi, but the answer isn't out there.
Yeah. No, exactly.
There are aliens out there that lost their planet eons ago looking for a planet.
So side note, I just saw, I think this was on Twitter, somebody making the point about how, so I didn't know that about Hancock guy, that he thought these were all white people, but
he buried that now. He's not putting that forth.
Of course not, because that's not cool to say anymore. But somebody brought up the point about how there's a lot of people who are like, oh, like there had to be aliens that built these structures, because there's no way, when the reality is they actually just don't want to believe that people of color built these structures because they weren't white, and it's
somehow these people did this without
aliens,
a laptop.
Like,
how is that possible?
Exactly.
And it's like,
no, people did it.
Somehow we have laptops. That in itself, we didn't do because of aliens.
Exactly.
So what's building a building?
Exactly.
Even if it's huge, if it's the pyramids, it's like give it time. Humans or any species, I think, time.
But again, it's this idea that, which I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about all this in real time. Everything I'm saying, it's so almost disrespectful and a smack in the face. It's because it's this idea that like you guys were dumb back then and we're smart. Like we know we have the technology, and it's like, says who? So just because there weren't laptops 1,000 years ago, like the idea that those people were dumb and not as advanced is really like the audacity of you to think that you're
and you're
smarter.
thinking about the reality of today. So your parents that didn't have laptops are dumb as shit. And
but
the
they
kids
got around
of today
without GPS,
are the smart ones, right? That would be that logic?
Exactly.
Because they have the laptops?
Yeah.
I don't consider a TikTok user of today being necessarily smarter than my parents when they didn't have that. That's not necessarily right.
Yeah.
And these tools don't necessarily mean anything about our intelligence.
Exactly.
As a collective whole. And they don't necessarily mean that we'll survive.
Yeah.
And that has been True Life
on Ants, Human Stars.
Thanks for listening to the Ants, Human Stars podcast with Caleb and Digo. Stay connected and get updates about new episodes by visiting our website, antshumanstars.com, and by subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share about us with your community on social media. Thanks, y'all. We really appreciate it.